I feel like Tigermen are going to be very popular when it comes to Grand Cathay armies. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm joined by War Master of Moloch as we showcase the units in action. So I'm running a pretty heavy Tiger block here with a mixture of different units, including some mortal peasants, against War Master Moloch, who is going to be running a pretty varied and defensive army of dwarfs. So let's go over the armies. I'm going to be running a Tiger Warrior Lord, a Claw Speaker with the Lore of Beasts, 1 unit of Peasant Spearmen, 5 units of Tiger Warriors with additional hand weapons, 2 Tiger Warrior Stalkers, 1 unit of Iron Hell Gunners, and finally a Sky Junk just to provide me with a little bit of artillery, as I am going to be dealing very much with dwarfs that are going to be hunkering down. Now, we do have a king with the dwarfs alongside 1 unit of miners with blasting charges, 5 units of dwarfs with great weapons, 2 units of giant slayers, 2 units of quarrelers, 1 unit of iron drakes, 3 units of thunderers, and 2 units of gyrocopters, 1 with brimstones, finally a unit of grudge throwers. They're going to be hunkering down quite a lot, and the map chosen does seem to favor me quite a bit. We were randomly just choosing maps as there's not really a lot when it comes to multiplayer maps. Now, I know his type of playstyle and he knows mine, but I've had a little bit more time with the Tiger Warriors than he has. So I think I've got a pretty good grasp with the Tiger Warriors myself. The plan here is to keep the Sky Junk distracting the dwarfs, firing at them and making them kind of change up position, whilst the Tiger Warriors move through the forest and grab them from the side. The benefit here obviously is that the dwarfs will not be able to take too much advantage or their range. I'm trying to avoid too much heavy fire. The gyrocopters have come in quite fast to try and take out my Sky Junk, but I do have the Iron Hails. Iron Hails are such fantastic Cathanians just to take out as much armor there as possible. I do feel like it would have been smarter here to bring both gyrocopters down just to take out the Iron Hail Gunners first, but hey, you know, you live and you learn. I made some mistakes in some battles too. I mean, yeah, but you know, we're only human. And it's kind of like the tabletop. You never know what's actually going to happen. But those gyrocopters are going, and the Sky Junk has been performing quite well, just literally ignoring most damage, whilst I've been able to just move my tigers into position. And this was desperately needed because I thought he was going to go to a different side of the map. So my stalkers who have Vanguard were literally just so far away, I needed them to just run in. This was buying me time just to get the proper position for a flank and rear charge. All my Tigermen have been running up, and yeah, they're going to be a little bit tired, but it does mean that they're going to be protected by some trees. They are the perfect units to just hide throughout different forests or all the different types of tree acne that you can see in Total War Warhammer 3. Because there are a lot of maps, not so much this one, thankfully. This one is a bit more natural. So I'm just trying to get ready, and I don't think he's realized too much. I think most of the focus has been on my Sky Junk. I'm not too sure why. They've come down, and I've got my peasants there just dealing with the other gyrocopters, but I'm not going to be too bothered about anything that happens to it afterwards. Now, I did use Transformation of Kadon because I did want to see about it. It is quite nice seeing a Celestial Lion being summoned, which is then going to disrupt all the formations for the dwarfs. They'll be dealing with the Celestial Lion as the rest of my tigers charge in. Interestingly enough, Moloch actually pushed his dwarfs forward, which allowed for the trees to act as more of a defensive line once again, with all my tigers basically fighting there and using the woods as extra shielding. I was pretty happy about this, as it did mean that I could still hold whilst doing some damage. My stalkers have not arrived just yet. Funny enough, this is a problem with larger maps, but many people want them, including myself, because it does allow for more strategic combat. I do find it quite interesting that the dwarfs were just trying to push me straight back into the trees. It basically worked in my benefit, but eventually I pushed all the way through with my Lord option going straight for his king, and my other Tiger Warriors just trying to hold down the range. The Sky Junk was providing excellent fire in this battle. I was actually quite surprised with really just how efficient it was. I'm not sure if they've done anything specific to that. Obviously, I know that they fixed up the Sky Lantern a little bit, but I've never really had good times with the Sky Junk. That being said, my stalkers are basically arriving at this point, so all my Tiger Warriors are attacking from different sides, and I've got them pretty much held down. This is where a skirmish army does very well. If you can hold down the enemy, if you can bog them up together in different locations, you're pretty much golden. And the Lord option being as killy as it is, even though it's mostly centered around being an anti-large character, that's so why can really kill other characters without too much of a hassle, and it does very well against armored infantry troops. There is a big push here for as much focus fire from the dwarfs to my tigers, but at this point, I don't think much can be done. The dwarves should have handled things a little bit better, that's for sure. And I did talk about that with War Master Moloch. But the great thing about this, obviously, it's just a friendly, right? So we were just basically shit-talking each other throughout most of the battle. Being able to summon in a second Celestial Lion was very beneficial here too. Magic versus the dwarfs isn't really a good thing, but being able to summon in another monster that can do some damage is the best way to go. I'm a big fan on how just the transformation of Kadon will summon in different types of monsters depending on what faction is using it. It just is very thematic, and it's just good to see that spell getting so much love. Because back in the days of the tabletop, it was fairly popular, you know, being able to summon in a big beastie like a chimera and doing a lot of damage with that. Unless, you know, your spellcaster was sniped out. Dwarfs are basically held together right now. They do have a few firing lines, but I don't think they can do much. The Tiger Warriors being standard infantry rather than monstrous infantry means that they can overwhelm fairly quickly, and you get a lot more troops throwing out a bunch of animations, which is their main form of combat. Great weapons are fine to use against this, but it's not the best type of weapon, and a Dwarf King can't really do too much here. I feel like a Rune Lord would have been better. But the benefit really comes from the Tiger Warriors being able to move around so quickly. If I send them to a different force to attack, they'll get there really quick. Essentially, that just means that the Tiger Warriors are going to stop any chances of the dwarfs reforming, whilst the Sky Junk is still pounding away. It's killing a bunch of my own troops too, but friendly fire is always kind of expected here, especially as, yeah, the dwarfs are held together. But by this point, my Sky Junk is almost done in terms of ammunition, and the dwarfs are breaking pretty much everywhere. The Lord has been killed off because the Sawai can just pretty much rip it apart, and this is what you want from Tiger Men. It's really interesting to see this interpretation finally come to life. I can't wait to see them as a tabletop model. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. But here comes a win for the Tigers, and they performed pretty much as I expected. A lot of new units are performing much better than older units. This is something that happens with game balance, and it's likely that we might see a few nerfs in the future, but it's also just the way that I played. I'm not going to say that these are pay to win just yet, because I still have to get a little bit more experience with them. This is basically the moment that Moloch got access, I was able to jump in and play some games with him. All he's got left is some Giant Slayers, which they're going to hold out. Obviously, unbreakable units. Very, very cool. But the Tigers are swarming in. I'm pretty happy all around with how Tigers performed, and I think how the Dwarfs performed too. We can't say that the Dwarfs performed badly. The trees were very much my terrain feature here. Much like the tabletop, you want to use terrain features to basically help you as much as possible, whether that be for cover or just to stop the enemy in its tracks for a while. It's nice getting back into some combat like this. I don't really play a lot of multiplayer, and that's because it's not really my chosen method of how to enjoy Total War Warhammer, but it is still very enjoyable. Combat-wise, everyone performed pretty much as expected. The Sky Junk performing much better than I expected, I'll be very honest with you there. I wasn't expecting so much high damage output, especially as getting those kills requires killing the entity. And when it comes to something like this, against dwarfs, they'll generally still hold out quite well. The ambushes, as you can see, did a lot of killing, even though it took a while for them to get in, and the Tiger Warriors performed in a pretty good state. The hero and the Lord option did exactly what expected, and really, I didn't want to give the dwarves too much of a chance to reform and do all their damage. A lot of anti-armor when it comes to the dwarfs, but really what should have been needed there is more quarrelers and maybe a little bit more lines of defense. A big thank you to War Master Moloch once again for taking the time to do these battles with me. You will find his channel linked in the description below. Check him out. He does a lot of Total War guides. He hasn't been active lately, but let's be honest, there hasn't been a lot going on for Total War lately. There's a few more battles to come, so likely today and then probably another day where it's a little bit more quiet because we do have the campaign embargo coming soon. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll see you all again very, very soon, guys. Have a good day.